Well, welcome to the another episode of Channelplay podcast. And I'm Abbas, the CEO of Channelplay Middle East and co-founder. Channelplay is a large retail execution business. We provide people, technology, and process to execute merchandising, sales outsourcing program for our clients here in the Middle East. I have with me today a very, very interesting guest and a very dear friend, Tim Popplewell. Tim is a dear friend, somebody we do running at Kite Beach together, a fitness enthusiast. I'm sure he never thought he would be introduced like that a few years back. A versatile character, a chartered accountant, Six Sigma black belt, Gallup Strength Finder, economic graduate, and who has worked from energy to media to oil and gas, staffing, and now a tokenization expert. I'm looking forward to a masterclass from Tim. But Tim, before I get going, why don't you say something about yourself? And thank you very much for giving us the time.
No worries. Thanks for having us. Enthusiast of sports is never one thing I would have thought I would have been introduced as. I've been here 15 years in Dubai, so I'm kind of an OG, I guess. Been around the block in terms of various industries. And I think the thing about being a chartered accountant is it allows you to move from industry to industry. So as long as you've got that financial background behind you, you can use your skills and your strengths on various things. That's what I've done. I'm also a bit of a wanderlust. I just can't, I get bored quite easily. So I have to move from industry to industry to keep me excited. You're right. I used to work for NBC Universal. I worked for General Electric for a long time. Here, I worked for TransGuard. I was a COO for a short period of time. I worked in oil and gas. And I think over the last few years, what my background has been is in compliance. So I tended to be the person that the companies would hire if there was a real bad mess. So usually the mess had already been made. And I was the person who went in to try and clean it up. So sometimes it could be, some malpractice in parts of West Africa or parts of the Middle East or wherever. And I'd go in and kind of clean it up. I didn't do that with TransGuard. I hasten to say that wasn't the job, but certainly before then and after then, it was very much a cleanup type of thing.
You also dwell into some of the startups and running a garage to many, many other things.
Gosh.
And hopefully a cricket commentator soon.
Yeah, many years ago, I was traveling from somewhere to somewhere on a plane, and I just thought, this is no life. I'm kind of sick of it. And it might sound to young people, it might sound like, oh, well, that sounds great, but it after
business
a while,
class travel
just,
everywhere.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm in business class. I'm at first world problems. And of course it is. But on the other hand, it's like, I'm kind of done with this now. So yeah, I moved from global CFO at that time of a oil and gas business to my first entrepreneurial enterprise, which was a small repair garage in Al Quoz.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know anything about cars. It was crazy.
My fond memory is when you got all of us to do desert safari and gave us all your Jeeps to drive it. Mm-hmm. And I had never done that in the desert, but that was a fun evening of just driving around those Jeeps doing the dune bashing, not being a fellow passenger, but on the steering wheel.
Yeah. For you, it was great. For me, it was like a heart attack every 10 seconds. Like, oh my God, my beautiful cars. What are they doing? So no, it was great night. And we did things like teach people to drive in the desert, and which was a whole bunch of fun, camping in the desert and so on. So there was a lot more. It's more of an outdoors lifestyle type thing. And then the obvious transition from a garage in Al Quoz is a fintech company.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a connection I'd like to. So you run Scintilla now.
Yeah.
So for someone hearing about Scintilla for the first time, why don't you just exactly what you do at Scintilla? Right. What does it do? And then we will start to talk about tokenization and all things fintech. I must admit before I start that I am completely don't know much about it. Okay. I'm a novice in that category. And I'm really when we started that day when we were having a run at the Kite Beach, and I was telling you about some of the retail conversation I had, and I'm like, oh, that's very interesting and lots happening in this world. And I'm sure there is a connection with lots within the retail world as well. and all these new initiatives are coming across. So I'm really looking forward to understand how all things connect. And if not, at least get educated about tokenization, Scintilla, and all things around that.
Cool.
So why don't you give us about Scintilla? What exactly do you guys do? What is it all about?
Good question. Scintilla is effectively a fintech, a financial technology company, and effectively it's a problem-solving company. We're using tokenization and effectively the blockchain to solve problems rather than build tech and build infrastructure for the sake of it. We're looking for problems to solve, and I'll come on to that in terms of how that impacts retail later on. Tokenization is I see it 25 times a day, as you can imagine. And people say it's the future and so on and so forth. It probably is, but it's effectively like 20 years ago saying, well, the internet's the future, or the World Wide Web, as we used to call it. And people go, I don't really know what that is. And now we look at it and think, oh, yeah, it's the thing that we Google to find out, what's on TV, or probably not that anymore. Actually, I've just shown my age there. And tokenization is going to be that. It's basically the vessel of getting what usually is in paper or in some kind of agreement format into a digitized format that is then stored on a blockchain, which means it is immutable. And immutable means once it's there, it cannot be changed. So it's effectively just a digitization of a process, an asset, or a thing that is currently not digitized. Okay. So it's just a digital format of something that's not digitized at the moment. There's really nothing more to it than that. And then there's other concepts like the blockchain. Well, effectively, that's just a gigantic ledger that is open to everyone to look at, that when things go onto it, they are immutable. And then you get into, so basically what Scintilla is, we're a regulated fintech, we're a regulated broker-dealer, and we're a regulated exchange. So we have tokenization as a service, if you like, but we're not a tokenization business. We are a fintech business that's allowed to do broker dealing and exchange of digital assets. And what is a digital asset? So that could be a digital representation of something like a mortgage, a loan, a share, an asset, a property, and anything, a cryptocurrency, an NFT even. So there are all these different...
but not just crypto.
Not just crypto.
Because a lot of time that's somebody like me who doesn't know much, they think tokenization, blockchain, crypto, that's the... three things you think all are together at one.
Yeah.
But you're saying tokenization is also any other transaction which you want complete traceability of it, all lifetime of it is...
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
In fact, tokenization isn't crypto. They're completely different topics, and they don't actually overlap in any way. So tokenization is the digitization of a thing that currently is in some other format, generally paper. Whereas crypto, as we all know, is whatever it is. So yeah, they're different things. Our licenses and our business allows us to do both. So it's quite a broad range of abilities to broker, to trade, to bring onto market, to broker, to trade, and to exchange asset.
Are there any live examples in the market where it's happening today? Within UAE, or the GCC, or anywhere else in the world, for somebody to feel it, that's what it is? Yeah,
okay. The easiest one and the most relevant here is a recent pilot of real estate tokenization.
Okay.
Two companies, one called Control Alt, one called Pripco. Pripco is kind of related to Damac, the large developer. And they've tokenized the title deeds of apartments in Dubai. And so what does that mean? It means that at the moment, you own a property and you want to sell it, or you want to release some equity. You can fractionalize that. So basically sell, say it's 100,000 dirhams mortgage, 100,000 dirham property. You could have 100,000 tokens of a dirham each, and then sell them to 100,000 different people or to 10 people.
So let's say my apartment in JLT worth 2 million. Now I went to that platform. I can have that tokenize.
Yeah, you can tokenize
and then
it.
say, I'm looking for $1 million for my business, and I'm putting these properties, some of these tokens for people to buy and take a share in it.
And then they own a share of your property. And so that's what's happened with the Dubai Land Department. And what's really interesting about this is that it's the first time in the world that they've actually tokenized the actual title deeds. Generally, when you tokenize property in other parts of the world, it's done via an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. And effectively, a bit like an investment fund, you buy shares in the SPV and so on. What Dubai have done, and this pilot has done earlier this year, the very first time in the world, it's actually tokenized the title deeds of the property. So it's quite interesting, and it's happening right here.
And so, what does the role Scintilla plays? If somebody has to come to you and say, I want to digitize this transaction, you would help them guide through that process?
Yeah, we can help them guide through the process. We can help them with the issuance. We don't have issuance ourselves, but we have issuance partners, so we can issue the token onto our platform, and then we distribute the platform via our broker dealing network. And then we can operate a secondary trade. So when they come to sell, we can put it onto our exchange, and they can buy and sell with other people who are interested in that asset. So we can do the whole. We can operate across the whole spectrum of the tokenization journey, if you like.
So generally, who would be a Scintilla's customer? You would have large companies or people who are either selling or trading a property, a service. Is it also relevant in the services industry, or it's more like a physical asset transferred into tokenization?
It's at the moment more physical assets. It could be service industries, and I'll probably come on to that a little bit later on, actually, how that could work. But at the moment, it's generally assets. And if you think about from our perspective, then we've because we're an exchange as well and a broker dealer, we have both the buyer and the seller. Generally speaking, the buyer is a large organization or a high net worth individual or some kind of entity. The buyer, on the other hand, can also be the same. Come from the same categories, or they could come from retail. It could be the likes of you or I. I mean, you're probably high net worth, but I'm more just a retail.
I like the narrative.
A normal, a normal retail customer.
What did they say? Never let the facts come between a good story.
Exactly.
So I live with that narrative. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in the world of retail, execution, right? And from the staffing, where we not only provide people, we do tech, we let people execute, we talk about merchandising, shelf management, making sure the SKUs are selling, building large sales team for the client to go sell a services or a product, right? So we come there. So what got me thinking is that with all this tokenization happening in there, how do you see that coming into services like retail? And retail is a big part of UAE's economy, a big part of across GCC. We thrive on retail. Our malls are buzzing. But yesterday, just out of the context, I was listening to Dubai Eye, and yesterday the CFO of Dubai Duty Free was on. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't know.
They and this is the public news side. It was on Business Breakfast. November was their best month ever of 40 years history. And this is the CFO who was on the call and said by 30th of November, they had done their annual target of 2025 with one full month to spare.
Wow. So was that November or was that the whole year?
So they have done the whole year's target by November, and November month was their highest ever revenue in the 40 years history. And it is some 25% over the last year's number on the single day, which is on 30th of November. So trade seems to be booming. So hence within the retail and trade, how do you see tokenization playing, if any?
Firstly, on trade, I think you've only got to look at the traffic over the last 6 months to know that things are booming here. Yeah. So Dubai is definitely the place to be. In terms of trade, if I was to ask you a question, and I don't know what you're about to say, but if I was to say above all else, what is the biggest problem of the retail sector, the biggest, highest one, the top level?
Of course. I mean, if I was a retailer, I'm looking at selling more. And if I'm an executor for the brand, I think one of the biggest thing is visibility.
Okay.
I want to know how if I'm a retailer and I have 500 stores across the Gulf, and I have multiple people working across the store, I've spent this money to get this product off the shelf. How is my execution happening? How is my ROI on the spend of this program? So that people are doing what they're supposed to do, things are selling, and I have the visibility. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. And generally, there are two answers. There's one around how do I know what's actually going on?
Yeah, that's visibility for me.
In fact, it's the two elements of that for me is how do I know what's going on? And the upshot of not knowing what's going on tends to land in disputes.
Yeah.
And so they're either internal disputes or external disputes. And so when you get to any question where it's how do I know what's going on, tokenization and the blockchain can help. Because whatever you are doing, if you are immutably recording it on a blockchain, then it is there for all to see. So when you talk about disputes somewhere down the supply chain, so it's not on the shelf because it's stuck in a port or it's over there and that guy says it's not arrived and he says it has, you've got full visibility of exactly where it is because every single part of that transaction can be logged on a blockchain. And so it even comes to that point of where blockchain and tokenization can assist in saying, the glass of orange that you drink this morning, I know exactly what the carbon footprint of that is because I know every single ingredient. I know exactly where it came from. I know all the packaging. I know the transportation. I know the bill of lading when it moved from wherever it came from. So you're at a point that when you're drinking that orange, you already know, okay, this is from a carbon credit perspective, X or whatever it is. And that's coming. It's an enormous project, obviously, and there are many, many companies looking into that. So that's one element of it.
Yeah.
And then the other
anywhere in the friction in the chain.
Yeah, anything where there's friction. Friction generally ends up with paper contracts somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the other part where you actually put those contracts on chain with digital contracts, smart contracts, and suddenly you're in a different position. So there is no real dispute anymore because it's there for everyone to see. You've agreed this, you've agreed that. This is where it is. This is where it's not. So that's where I see it happening. I would say we are in the very nascent stages of that, to be honest, Abbas. I don't think we're at the start of that, and I'll give you a good reason why.
Okay.
Because there are bigger problems to solve that make big institutions a lot more money. So it's the usual, where's the low-hanging fruit that I can make a lot of money or a lot of efficiency savings or some kind of improvement very quickly that makes me a lot more money.
Yeah, right now, and also everybody's on the bandwagon. Every board wants to ask, where is the use of AI? Are you using AI enough or not? So a lot of people and the teams are, in my view, they are whether doing AI or not, they're at least trying to force fit or answer that they are doing that. And they're using some form of AI to get some answers.
Yeah.
Whether it's really saving or removing any friction or improving cost or profitability or not.
Do you know, just going off topic slightly, but GITEX recently, I don't know if you went, but there was a gigantic hall of AI companies. And I wandered around there for maybe a couple of hours. It was kind of dizzying. There were so many. But one thing stood out above all else, and it's exactly what you just mentioned. It's they were using AI to look for problems to solve. And then I bumped into one particular company, a company in Germany that was around customer service centers and around how you improve the problems that customer service centers have. And started talking to them, and he said, well, we've actually been in customer service for 30 years. Now we're using AI to solve the problems in customer service. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is the first time I've heard in the AI space somebody saying, there's a problem, and I'm looking for AI to solve it. Everywhere else I looked in that hall was, here's AI, come and use our AI. We've got a chat bot or we've got a something or other. And you dig into, well, why do I need this? What is it doing for me? And it would not be solving a critical problem. It would almost be like, opening a new present at Christmas and going, oh, that's nice. And then by Boxing Day, you're not bothered about it anymore because you realize it kind of doesn't really do anything new.
Christmas is already on your mind.
Christmas is always on my mind. When you've got as many children as I have, Christmas is always on your mind.
That is true. That's true. Yeah. Shopping has already started.
Yeah.
If I'm any retail house or a distributor, whether I'm a principal, so there are two types of within retail here, right? You have, or 2-3 types, right? You got retailers, right? So you got people who own the store and keep inventory for example, Carrefour or a Lulu or anybody else who are large hypermarket. Then you got your brands. So I am a Unilever, P&G, Apple, Samsung, anybody. I'm a brand. I'm selling it at that shelf. Or I'm a distributor who represents either of the brand and then I supply to any of this retail chain. So either I'm a brand or I'm a distributor or I'm a retailer. Within retail, again, you got a hypermarket, you got your supermarket, you got your mini marts, you got your general trade. If you have to advise anybody to start or think of a tokenization or you approach as a Scintilla's client, who do you go to first?
Well, we do that. Quite a lot. So we have, for example, real estate. We have a couple in the automotive trade.
Oh, fantastic.
There's a couple in others as well, but they're a little bit sensitive, so I'm not really able to say.
No, please.
And what they're looking to do, and which is what I mentioned earlier with the Dubai Land Department, is a pilot. So in any new tech, all throughout history, it's always a pilot.
There's always a pilot.
So you're never going to chuck your entire inventory at tokenization cross your fingers and hope for the best. So it's looking at, if I have a small problem somewhere that could turn into a big solution, what is it? How would I build a pilot? And so sometimes what we'll find with the pilots in our space is we'll already have the seller, the asset owner, but generally speaking, it'll be their existing clients who are the buyers.
Yeah.
So they've almost got this kind of closed loop process for the pilot. The reason being because they're testing the tech and the pressure points. They're not testing whether you can buy or sell it. So that generally, or you can move it or distribute it or shelve it or whatever the problem is that you've decided to solve. You're looking at, I want to do a small, generally cheap pilot, and I want to look at how does this improve things?
Yeah.
Because, you might come to it and think, well, it doesn't.
Yeah. I totally agree. Pilots are the...
So that's what we generally see. We see a small pilot. They then go through that pilot with... But generally, they've got an idea of, if this pilot works the way we think it is, this is going to be huge because of the problem it solves, which is this.
Yeah, even in our retail world, we have this one channel tech, which, of course, we also use a lot of AI and generative AI for insights, and we have image recognition to know the share of shelf, etc.
Right.
And all of this starts with a pilot. You have to do a proof of concept.
Yeah.
So the client to see that does it really work, and is there a great advantage which they thought it would. And sometimes it is as simple as, I have 200 people working on this program. Thanks to all this tech, does it become 180? Right? It's truth, but or is it? These 200 people were covering only 500 store. Now with the technology and 200 people, I'm covering 1,000 store. Because it has all of a sudden opened the efficiency. But until the pilot and proof is done, we hardly get anybody to really over the line. And very often, sometimes people have a vague idea what they're looking for or as a client, but then until proof is done or the pilot is done, it's not. In your case, who funds the pilot?
They do.
Oh, good.
So, we're not. We can't be a charity. I'm afraid.
But then pilot, I get this a lot. I'm recently right now in a very large conversation with a large brand, and I was do pilot at your own cost, and I'm like, I'm okay to not charge a fee for the pilot, for example, not make any margins or anything, but the cost of pilot, I can't fund it because I've given enough evidence that it works at certain places. So how do you manage those conversations? Sorry, I'm just asking some advice here.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's what we tried to get to quite quickly, because everyone has a great idea until there's money involved.
Yeah,
and then you see whether, okay, are you willing to actually fund this or not? I think it's changed actually in our experience. So perhaps 18 months ago, we would get a lot of individuals and smart inventors and people with a great idea, but they didn't have any money. What we're seeing now are large institutions coming to us saying, "Well, we're not interested in small fry money. We're doing this because we think it's the future, and we see this as a pathway to something greater." So the conversations have somewhat changed. So they've become a bit more adult, a bit more mature. And I think the reason that's happened with us, at least, is down to the thing that I want to talk about probably as much as anything, which is trust. And so when you talk about crypto, when you talk about NFT, even blockchain, you're doing it right now. You're shaking your head going, "Oh my God." There was a story the other day about, a large villa that's just been rented for some crazy amount to a crypto dude. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who rolled my eyes and thought, "Yeah, crypto dude, yeah, sure." And we need to move away from that. And I think we've been quite successful at Scintilla in saying, we've ridden the roller coaster of some of these awful hacks and some of these pump and dumps and the various things that go on from time to time. We've completely avoided them. But the regulated route, which is where we are, is longer. It's very easy to cut corners. It's very easy, and from a retail perspective, you see it every day.
Yeah,
easy to cut corners, easy to take the low road. But if you want to stick to your principles, then it takes a lot longer. And I think what we've had to do is become storytellers a lot of the time to large clients and say, "You can trust us. We're not going anywhere. We're not stealing anything, and we know what we're talking about." And one of the things we're not talking about is the fact we can do this in 20 minutes. This is going to take time. We're going to learn just as you learn. But at the end of it, when we have learned and when we have put this pilot together and when it is out there, the opportunity to then go large is there for everyone and will be very lucrative.
In your journey of tokenization, having this conversation, what holds back? What are the challenges when you're talking to a client and they say, "Oh, to tokenization," what obstacles generally people are thinking or you are experiencing when you're putting this solution out to the client?
Yeah, okay. That's a great question. It's the one we think about a lot. So there are two large ones. Yeah. One is trust. How do I know I'm not giving over my clients, my funds, my money, my this, my that? So that's the biggest one. And then probably the biggest one from a tokenization perspective is liquidity. What do I mean by that? Okay, so I'm going to do a pilot, and then I'm going to go put a lot of assets on the blockchain. I'm going to give it to you, Scintilla. You're going to put them on your marketplace. How do I know anybody's going to buy them? How do I know they're not just going to sit there in some website in the middle of the ether somewhere and just rot? So that's the largest issue that the entire industry has. And the reason the entire industry has that is that large institutional investors, of which there are many, particularly in this region, are looking for places to put their funds. But they're also looking to make sure, again, coming back to the trust element, that what they say they're getting, they're actually getting. Now, from what I said at the start, immutable, trustworthy, and so on, the blockchain allows that. As a regulated entity, we allow that. So we are one of the very few places where you can actually trade with confidence. And the reason I say that is that the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority here in Dubai is the first of its kind in the world. So Dubai has taken a huge leap on the rest of the world in terms of regulating these. And it's starting to give out licenses. But obviously it's doing so very carefully because, let's face it, Dubai has only just come off the grey list. It most certainly doesn't want to go back on there. So it has to make sure that when it licenses its entities, they know what they're doing and they're not going to make mistakes or cut corners.
But if you were to forecast and say with all this tokenization, digitization, that will it take off in 5 years time more, 10 years time more, or what could be an inflection point for it to like in internet we talk about how this whole iPhone revolutionized it and the app world became the inflection point, arrival of iPhone or arrival of WhatsApps have kind of taken the world in a different direction with the mobile phone. Now the chat GPT is another inflection point in the history of whole technology and use of it. How do you see that happening in tokenization?
Okay.
Any crystal balling there?
I'll tell you what it's not going to be, and then I'll tell you what it probably is going to be. Perhaps 3 years ago, it was the democratization of finance. It was giving power back to everyone. It was ruining the banks and all this. It's definitely not going to be that.
Okay.
What's going to happen is that large institutions are going to lead the way here, and they're the ones who are going to develop most of the technology. They're the ones who already have the customers, and they're the ones who have the products to sell. So it's not the democratization of finance. I'm sorry to say that in some respects. What you're looking at is, okay, what is the killer use case of digitization? And the killer use case is stablecoin. Now, stablecoin, just the 1 minute, what is a stablecoin? Yeah. It's effectively at this point in time, almost always a dollar-backed cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So the stablecoin will almost be 1-to-1 with a dollar almost all the time, give or take very, very minor parameters. Why is that such a killer use case? And I'll bring this back to retail. So let's assume your retail chain has distributors all over the world, and you're bringing produce in from everywhere, from Africa, from here, from there, from Asia, from UK, from Europe, and so on. Then you get into the SWIFT system of payment, and all of a sudden there's money flying around in various different currencies around the world, and you're crossing your fingers hoping that in 3 to 5 days it actually gets there. And anyone who's done that any number of times is smirking at the moment, saying, "Yeah, good luck with that." When you do it through the stablecoin on the blockchain, it is generally speaking instant to 1 day. There are some areas where maybe that might not happen, but in most of the instances, it's an instant transaction. Now, you imagine if you're in a country, say an African country, where the dollar peg, well, there's two in effect. There's an official one and an unofficial one, and they're very, very different. And all of a sudden, you've got an ability to trade in a US dollar-backed stablecoin that pays in and out almost instantaneously. Then suddenly the SWIFT system is kind of broken. Now, as much as you might think, oh, well, that's terrible for the banks don't actually make a great deal of money out of the SWIFT system anyway. They are regulated to such a degree that they have to put certain things in place, and that's why it takes as long as it does, and why it costs as much as it does. What blockchain does is it largely takes that away. So that's a retail example of this killer use case coming. And it's not even coming. It's already here. I mean, stablecoins are racing ahead. We've just referred to the stablecoin summer that has apparently happened here. And that has happened, certainly accelerated since Donald Trump took over the White House in January. He signposted late last year that he was going to be a friend of cryptocurrencies and stablecoin in particular, whereas his predecessor wasn't, and the SEC in the US regulated cryptocurrencies and to some degree the blockchain very differently, and so that has changed very dramatically. I was in Silicon Valley a couple of years ago, and it was like a ghost town. There was just nobody there. Whereas now it's absolutely booming. There's money flying in left and right, because that's where all the major action is. Apart from here, which is the other large area of innovation, and largely that's regulatory based, and that's based with the fact that's on the basis that VARA has come into being, and there isn't another VARA anywhere else in the world at this point.
But you see a lot of Are there more players like you in the market?
Are there more what, sorry?
More Scintillas in the market who are trying to get this tokenization going into
of course. Yeah. We've got there's various people in our space, and as I say, the DLD project, they were tokenization engines. There are, I guess, there are frenemies. Really, we're all
there's a good sign, right? When you have it, it's, you know that there is more going to happen in the industry. Because when you see competition is a good sign of the industry, that there's going to be more and lots happening.
Yeah. I keep saying to people, that the playing field is so big you can't see the edges of it for the curvature of the earth. But you're not going to score a goal unless you play together, because the goals are miles away. And I think that's a fair analogy.
And would you say that this is like UAE is leading, then you would say more of others, Qatar, Saudi, Kuwait, Middle East, Egypt, North Africa, this will all fall in that step? Because of course UAE generally leads in innovation in this areas from the point of view.
The UAE is definitely leading. I would say parts of Asia are catching up now. So Singapore and Hong Kong in particular, adoption there is probably ahead of where it is here.
Okay.
But from a regulatory perspective, there really is. I mean, factually speaking, the UAE is factually ahead.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's a fantastic place to be. And although I think a lot of people are now coming here to look at what's happening here, and I think things will start to catch up. And certainly, there's been some major changes in the US this year. There's an act called the Genius Act, which has really changed things over there, and made, coming back to stablecoins, has made the US. It's effectively the US trying to protect the dollar's dominance in global trade.
Because, of course.
Because you can see where I am. They've got trillions and trillions of debt they've got to roll over in the coming couple of years, and they see, oh, hang on, stablecoin. Hang on, this is a completely new, a new currency in effect. So it's all bets are off at the moment, and it's really
very
fascinating.
This is very fascinating for me. There's so much to absorb all this, even these stablecoin to tokenization to what's happening. It's very interesting to see that, as you said, some of these things which you think are far out and very difficult to reach, but actually sometimes within 2 years, it's all over the place, or 3 years, people are talking and things are happening, and then and hope that this also catches the same. I think
tokenization as well, it's something of a misnomer. It's purely the way it happens.
Yeah.
It's not a thing in and of itself. It's just a mechanism. It's an infrastructure for moving something from the real world into the digital world.
I think your industry has to take the onus on trying to simplify it for everybody to understand.
Yeah.
I think as soon as it seems like, it is for the geeks, not for the normal people. Initially, the number is that, it seems like it's complex. While it simplifies the solution, it lands complex at night. That's my view. Very, very personal, individual opinion.
Yeah.
On that.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. What else is, so if you keep your CEO hat and CFO hat, being in the market for long, and I know you always in some circles of leadership in the boardroom, what are the hot topics other than tokenization? What are people talking?
Well, we've talked about AI. And we've talked about cryptocurrencies and stablecoin. They're most certainly on everyone's lips. I think there is a bit of an AI backlash going on at the moment.
Tell us more.
I think it's just the fact that it's technology for technology's sake. And I think a little bit like if you remember 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, NFTs were the rage.
Yeah.
And loads
do you
of
have one of your own?
I do not.
Tim P NFT?
I missed that. Probably because I'm too old, but in truth, because I looked at it and it was the first time I'd seen something and thought, well, I don't understand what this is. And it's great to have it as a collectible, but who's going to ever see it? It's on my phone, in effect, or it's in a wallet somewhere. And there's pretty much no market for ever selling it. So I'm literally giving money away. And I think that in the fullness of time, everybody saw that was the case. I think the similar-ish thing is happening with AI, is that a lot of AI startup companies now who are looking for funding are finding a lot harder because there's a bit of a backlash in terms of how everyone's just talking AI, and it's not really AI at all. It's just the next buzzword. But I think what boardrooms are talking about largely tends to be economic and financial. So there's an awful lot going on in the world at the moment. Not all of it great. And I think in Dubai we live in, not for the first time, we kind of live in a very kind of bubble. I use that in the right sense, in terms of when I call my friends or my family in the UK, or frankly in various other parts of the world, it's very, very gloomy. It's very doom and gloom. It's not a great conversation. It's okay, bye.
And look at our streets and the malls and e-commerce and brands coming, and
Dubai duty free, best month ever in November. And it's difficult to really tally those two. And as ever, I don't know where that goes, but I do know within boardrooms, within the C-suites that I speak to regularly, there's a little bit more concern in terms of, okay, we need to be a bit more circumspect. And I'm not talking about Dubai here. I'm talking about globally, in terms of there's quite a lot of pressure on the dollar. There are some geopolitical swings and roundabouts going on, and no one quite knows how that's going to play out. And that could have really major implications going down the line. So I would say general circumspection around geopolitical.
And generally, when you have I think 2025 has been a great year from whoever I meet, fairly reasonably good numbers on budget, some up, some down, but been a positive year.
Here.
Here. I'm talking only about GCC. Yeah. More UAE, more Saudi. That's a market we operate in. I spend most of my time between Riyadh, Jeddah, UAE, and some in India. And see a lot of positive of 2025 being a good year. Whenever there's a good year, 2026, what's your prediction, sir? You're always good. Last time your test prediction was wrong. My test prediction talked about in the morning,
so spectacularly wrong.
Hours, it collapsed. So, not that is the indication of any of your predicting capabilities, but how do you see 26?
It's a really good question, and I think at this point in time, it's really difficult to tell. From the GCC perspective, I think it's going to continue to go well. I don't see anything changing in any major way that's going to, prick the bubble, if you like. More widespread, how that impacts us, I don't know. I mean, downturns in other places tend to impact the GCC in a good way. So it's difficult to tell. If I talk to people a lot about that. They'll say, well, when do you think it really changed in Dubai? And I'll say, well, really it changed in COVID, because the government here handled it so incredibly well compared with almost everywhere else in the world.
Everywhere else.
But what happened was, so if I look at the British press up until COVID had a really good habit of beating Dubai. Maybe once every couple of months, there'd be some silly story in the media. But then when COVID came along and all the KOLs and all the influencers came here to escape the horror of the UK, that's had to stop. Because it's tough for the Daily Mail to say, "Oh, this is horrible," when the people you look at on Insta or TikTok are telling you actually it's the best place in the world right now. And I think since then the entire feeling here has changed. And so if I think about it, there's other reasons, but I think that's from the east of Dubai. I think young people have moved in to kind of make their fortune. And from the west of Dubai, wealthy people have moved in to make their fortune. Just in a different way. So I think that's what we've seen.
And we've seen the best. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, and I don't really see that changing.
Yeah, I think even from us, when we are talking to the clients, we're looking at trying to build teams. We're looking at it's very interesting how the mix of teams are also changing.
Right.
How the clients are asking within the sales team, should I have some Mandarin speaker, some Korean language, of course, English, Arabic is always there. Whenever I hear that, sometime few years back, there used to be always asked in the sales team, can I have more Russian speakers? And now you can see more Mandarin, Korean, some East European languages, which is fantastic that it shows that there is a certain more variety of workforce which is required. And but the malls are full. Go to any mall.
I don't go to a mall.
You don't go to the mall?
Not anymore.
You must play Tim.
It's too busy.
I'm telling you, it's more exciting than just being at Jitex. Of course, Jitex is lovely.
No, I live down by the beach. I'll go down the beach. The beach is busy enough now.
Actually, beach is busy. Kite Beach especially is
super busy.
It's like I was there yesterday, and it's just like, and especially on the holiday season, it just gets really bad. Any word of advice for CEOs and leaders for 2026 from your lenses?
In Dubai or in the UAE?
GCC.
In the GCC, I think the advice is to get involved in blockchain and tokenization. Look what problems you have, and come and talk to us and see how we might be able to solve them. Because I think that's the way we're going to get efficiency gains, but it has to be from a problem. So whatever problem you have, that's the way I would look at entering blockchain and tokenization.
What size of firm, if just to follow up on that, if somebody has to look at it, what should be my size of business for me to come approach Scintilla?
As an asset owner, you have to have some significant assets, or there has to be some significant throughput.
Transactions happening.
Yeah, a significant bunch. It's not really worth it for relatively small,
if I'm
SME type business.
If I'm at least a $100 million business?
Yeah, that would definitely, depending on what you wanted to do, that would definitely be the right kind of business. But for smaller businesses, I would probably look at the AI solution that I mentioned earlier, quite frankly, because they're fantastic, rather than a blockchain solution that might, cost you a lot in a pilot and actually not really potentially deliver a great deal.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Thank you for all the insights on tokenization. I already know about Scintilla. I'm really excited about maybe when I have some retail chat with some leaders and we're trying to sell solution, maybe talk to them about how have they using tokenization or digitization within that landscape, and maybe have some of them to have the conversation with you. So at the end, we cannot stop without talking about cricket. What does it look like?
It's now impossible to make any prediction about England.
No, you can't. Just because you had one wrong prediction, you can't just walk away. You have to take a stand.
Okay, I'll take a stand.
Always takes a stand.
I'll take a stand. We are on the first day.
Do not be biased only towards England.
Of course, I'm biased towards it. In terms of cricket, generally, I think the Ashes will be very tight. Really, this test that's currently going on in Brisbane, England pretty much have to win it. Otherwise, it won't be tight. It'll be all over long before Christmas.
Yes.
I think, generally speaking, the franchise cricket is likely to break away in the end. I think there'll be two games. There'll be the franchise game. So you have the MI. I don't know if you saw MI London yesterday, and you'll have the MI Everything franchise of cricket, and it'll be roughly the same players go around the world with that franchise. And then you'll have the test and international cricket. And frankly, that'll be it. I don't think there'll be very much else. I don't think there'll be, in the UK, county cricket. I think it's just slowly but surely, taking its last breaths.
The fans of test cricket will survive, you think? Ashes will be as interesting.
It depends. The problem is, I think now there's only really 4 decent sides. And I think we need to get more decent sides. So Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, even Afghanistan, and particularly the West Indies, they've got to get better.
Is tokenization coming in cricket?
Funnily enough, we did have a tokenization of a team. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did. In fact, we're talking with him right now. It's a franchise for a team. I think it's a kind of a youth league. And we're potentially going to tokenize one of the teams, and that gives voting rights. So you can vote who the team is. You can vote on certain other aspects of that and so on. And it's actually affiliated with one of the IPL teams. So it's actually it's quite interesting.
Really looking forward to see what's happening there. Last question for the day. Let's say you are not from the world of tokenization or the CEO of Scintilla, and you're given a retail business to run, either a owner of a distributor or a retail store like a big mega chain, what would you go and try to change or make it better? Top of your hand, anything comes to you. Oh, I got a retail, now I need to sell more. What would you do?
I think selling more, marketing has completely changed. Everything about marketing and advertising has totally changed. And I think that's what I would focus on. Not that I'm a marketeer, but to my point about I always try new things, I'd love to get involved in how to market products better in this new world.
When was the last time you were in a mall?
It was 1873.
Anything in last 1 year?
I probably
with
have.
all the kids here, I'm sure you are forced to go as much as you don't like to go.
I probably do, yeah. My favourite mall is Marina Mall, actually. I really like that mall. It's nice and spacious and airy.
It's not too big. It's not Dubai Mall. You don't have to do steps.
Yeah, I used to live across from Dubai Mall, and I liked it when I lived across from it, but it just gives me the shivers when I go there now.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for your time. It was really lovely to have a chat across a variety of topics, and hopefully a lot of success for Scintilla in 26 and 27. Good luck to you, and thank you really much for your time.
And to you, mate.
Thank you very much. See ya.
Cheers, Abbas.